Leaders joining us from two different time zones and two different parts of the country today. We have representation at the elementary and high school level, and they have many rich ideas to share. And I know that collectively, we will also share some great ideas and leave with some amazing takeaways about how we can do this new normal better and more collectively and sort of scale that leadership across our buildings and districts. So again, on behalf of the Center for Teaching Quality, I'm Jessica and I will be your moderator today. And we thank you so much for joining us live in person. If you enjoy your experience today, please note that this is just one of many micro-webinar offerings. So we offer a free micro-webinar professional learning opportunity to the education community about once a month. And we will tease our next offering at the end of this session. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be on April 8th. But this is just really one session of a larger, broader menu of sessions. So we would love to partner with you, your school district or your organization, to bring personalized professional learning to your teams as well. We offer sessions around issues of DEI, everything from social emotional learning to facilitation and engagement in virtual spaces, which I know we're all spending a lot more time in these days. So we hope that this will be, if this is your first time joining us, you'll come back in April and in future months. And if you're a returning guest today, we welcome you back. I'm going to explain a little bit about the way the format is going to work today. We promised a micro webinar, and what that means is a short amount of time, bite-sized learning, but maximum impact. So each presenter, each school leader is going to get about 10 minutes to engage with all of us today. And they will have the opportunity to introduce themselves, set a little bit of context about their school, and then we're going to watch a video clip of their collective leadership in action. And then we'll have some opportunity to engage in Q&A with the school leader and as a group of learners here today. So with that, I would like to kick us off with Jennifer Cribbs. Jennifer is an assistant principal at Blythewood High School in South Carolina. And she is going to share a little bit more about her school, and then we'll listen to some of the work that's happening at her school. Jennifer, thank you for being with us today.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Jessica. And thank you all for being here. I'm so excited to be able to share some of the good things that our teachers are putting into practice and some of the spaces that we've created here at Blythewood High School. I am one of the assistant principals here. We have about 2,000 students, just to kind of give you some range and scope. 2,000 students, we've got about 120-ish teachers, depending on what month we're in. And one of our kind of hallmark things that people know about Blythewood High School is that we build relationships. That is our big, that's our big kind of cornerstone of who we are and what we do. And so when we went into this whole issue with COVID and shut everything down, one of the things that we kept hearing from our teachers was that they missed each other. You know, they missed their students, but they missed the camaraderie, they missed the conversations in the teacher's lounge and things like that. So what we did was we developed a virtual teacher's lounge, and in the spring, we sent it out every day, and it was full of funny little things, and you'll see kind of bits and pieces of one that was sent out in November. So it's got a dancing turkey. So get excited for that because that's coming. But what we did was we used it as a virtual platform for our teachers to be able to collaborate with each other, to share ideas with each other, to share funny memes with each other. And so we hit that, you know, those best practices that are so needed. And at the same time, we were also pulling in the social emotional piece that so many teachers said that they were missing, you know, when they were sitting at homes doing their teaching from their dining room table. So this was born from that. And then after the video, I'll share with you kind of another way that this has morphed into something else that really has been bolstering our collective leadership efforts at Blythewood High School. everybody. My name is Jennifer Cribbs, and I am one of the assistant principals at Blythewood High School. We are in Blythewood, South Carolina, just north of Columbia, South Carolina, and I wanted to share one of the things that we have done for our faculty and staff that has really been a game changer for us since our whole paradigm of school changed in March. What we started doing actually daily in March was we would send, we call it the Teacher's Lounge, and it's just a slide deck presentation. And it's gotten more animated and saucier, as you can see there on the screen, as we've gone. But what we found in the spring was that teachers really missed the feeling of being connected with each other, being connected with with other faculty and staff members, and we really felt like those interactions happened in the Teacher's Lounge. So this little slide deck is called the Teacher's Lounge. Like I said, in the spring, we sent it every day with updates because things were changing, day by day. Now we send it about once a week, and it's kind of a landing spot for all the most important information. So teachers know that if they have a question or something they're not sure about, the Teacher's Lounge is the first place that they check. But the other thing that's kind of been really great is that it's full of fun memes. The Teacher's Lounge is a relaxing place, a place where teachers can kind of, show a little bit of their personality. And so our technology learning coach, Tammy Linker, I cannot say her name enough, Tammy Linker, puts this together for our teachers, and it's just incredible. So just to kind of give you a taste of kind of what this looks like, feels like, sounds like, this is our Teacher's Lounge from last week in the lead up to Thanksgiving, and she puts little music bits, and so here you got a little bit of James Brown, but it's also where we share video examples. We have an Avid weekly strategy that we share with teachers, and funny memes, and also embedded with how to do new technology things that pop up. And again, it's just one of those ways that we can showcase what's going on in our school and at the same time have a little bit of a laugh while we're doing it. So this is just something that it gives us something, gives everybody a landing point and something funny that we can all share with each other. So hope that's helpful for you. And, if you've got any other questions, you can certainly reach out to me or Tammy Linker. Again, my name is Jennifer Cribbs, and we're from Blythewood High School. Thanks so much. So if you got up and danced to James Brown, totally acceptable, especially this late in the afternoon. Don't, just own your dance moves. But we really used this to catapult into another kind of activity that really has been, it was born out of this Teacher's Lounge, but for us has been just a paradigm shift that we'll continue to use as we move forward. And we call it our mystery date. And so what that is where the administrators, we're in and out of classrooms. We get to see all the good things that are going on in classrooms. So we kind of handpick 3 or 4 teachers that are really doing excellent things. And we set up a 10 to 15 minute session, very similar to this, but with our teachers leading the sessions. And we send that out to our faculty and we say, here are your mystery dates. They don't know who's going to be presenting. They don't know what they're going to be presenting on. So they come to the sessions with an open mind, open heart. And the sessions are really quick, really snappy. They always have something that everyone can use. But with 3 or 4 sessions, that every teacher walks away with at least one thing they can use, which is so powerful. So this model that we're in right now, we are using at our high school, and the teachers just love it. And so it's funny to hear them talking about their mystery dates, in the hallway. Yesterday's mystery date was great, and the students just, what? So it's just a good time. It's just another way to jazz it up and another way to see all the good things going on in classrooms. So that's that's what's going on at Blythewood High School. So tell me questions, or unmute your mic, or put them in the chat box. What do you wonder about or have questions about? I will not dance. So if you're getting ready to type that in the chat, it's a no, I'm sorry. No, no, no. So, so when do the mystery dates occur? We actually have time built into our schedule every Wednesday morning. We call it our late starts. And so on Wednesday mornings, our students actually start an hour later than normal, and it's built in professional planning time. So we use that hour, and we limit it to an hour. So in an hour, we get 3 to 4 mystery dates. We've also had, you can call them whatever you want, but we've also had like The Voice, kind of thing where teachers will come up to the front of the room. Now, obviously this is pre-COVID because everyone's touching the same microphone, but they would come up to the front and, I'm doing this and this and this and this in my classroom. And if you want to hear more about it, come check out my classroom. I'll be doing this third period, or I'm going to do this and this and this on Tuesday. If you want to see that in action, come check me out. And then the other, I guess one other thing, okay, yes, mystery date examples. So a couple of the things that they've presented would be engaging students in the classroom, especially in this virtual platform, how they are getting students to unmute their mics. That for us has been kind of a challenge. It's a little bit intimidating to unmute your mic and say the things. So how do you engage students in that way? We also have teachers that present on technology tools that they're using. So like Pear Deck, Jamboard. We've got a lot. I'm really sorry. They just put electric turn off lights in my office. We also have teachers that have presented on how they are using alternate assessment formats for their classes, because testing in a virtual environment is challenging. So those have been some of our most popular mystery dates, have been student engagement, technology bits, and how to transform what we have been doing in the classroom to how that can work in a virtual setting. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention, and I'll answer questions in the chat as we move forward, but we also do instructional rounds where groups of teachers go in a pack into a classroom together to look for a certain teaching strategy, and then step out of that classroom and debrief exactly what's going, what they've seen going on in that classroom. And it's powerful because they're seeing the same lesson. They're having they have one point of reference, which has just been great. So we call it instructional rounds. That's been another thing that's really empowered our teachers and helped them kind of shape our PD path as we've been going. So, okay, I think that's all my time.
And the learning will transition to a new presenter, but the conversation need not end. If you think of additional questions for Jennifer, feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll keep this conversation going, and something that our next two presenters share might spark something from an earlier share. So feel free to just ask questions as we go. And with that, we're going to transition to our second school leader. It's my pleasure to introduce Vanessa Valencia. She is a principal at 6th Avenue Elementary in Aurora, Colorado, which is a large suburb of Denver. And she's principal at a Title I school, very diverse district with over 140 languages and countries represented. And so she's going to share a little bit about the work taking place at 6th Avenue. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Vanessa. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jessica. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vanessa Valencia. As Jessica said, I'm the proud principal of 6th Avenue Elementary School. Our school is a public Title I school. We are currently serving 355 students. About 50% of our students are multilingual learners. 60% are Hispanic, 20% are Black, 10% are white, and about 10% are 2 or more races. Over the past year, we've gone from remote access to remote learning to a hybrid model, back to remote, and now we're in person. However, our teachers are still teaching in a concurrent or hybrid model to provide instruction for both our in-person and our remote students. With little time to plan and prepare as we've made these shifts, and with the added stress of the pandemic on everyone, we had to create time and space for our staff to quickly build capacity around remote teaching and learning and to engage in collective problem solving to address the unique challenges that we've had to face with the changing instructional models. Before the pandemic, we had a monthly staff meeting that was mostly used for trainings and information sharing. But since the pandemic began, we've increased our staff meetings to once per week, and we now use them as our primary structure for collective leadership and to maintain a healthy school climate and culture. So my video will showcase the many ways that we have leveraged this structure to meet all of our needs. When we first started remote learning last year, teachers had weekly one-on-ones with leadership team, and we would listen and chart their questions, needs, and challenges. Our leadership team would then meet and synthesize the trends that we heard, and we would recap them for our staff, as seen here. One of the first challenges we heard from them was that they were overwhelmed with all that there was to learn and implement. So we decided to help them narrow their focus by picking a resource of the week for them to explore and implement with students and families. We also set very small goals for each week. This often came from their feedback around challenges and needs. This year, we had to shift from remote to hybrid and back to remote. Bigger challenges arose, and we knew we needed a platform to collaboratively discuss and address our challenges together. Our leadership team would provide our ideas and suggestions and then give them time and opportunity to problem solve and design solutions. And then we would collaboratively make decisions to move forward. As my leadership team did observations in remote classrooms, we also saw some really great ideas and best practices, and we knew we needed a platform for teachers to share their innovations and successes. Sometimes this would take the form of us highlighting specific teachers and practices. Sometimes it would just be time for teachers to watch videos of one another and steal ideas. Or sometimes we might introduce a new tool by using and showcasing it in our staff meeting, like we did with Pear Deck. As we rode the waves of never-ending change, we also knew it was important to build in time just to connect. Being isolated at home was difficult for our staff, so we kept our spirits up with fun and inspiration. We also learned some wellness strategies to avoid burnout, and our staff even started some self-care challenges. We also took time to celebrate our small wins and celebrations. In terms of students, we kept things moving with strong social emotional learning structures, virtual spirit weeks, a virtual talent show, a virtual career fair, and even virtual quarterly award assemblies. I'll leave you now with a few comments from our team.
Good day, I'm Deanna Favre, and I'm a first grade teacher here at 6th Avenue and a member of the Building Council. We have a lot of collective genius here at our school, and we have a lot of things that we have incorporated to keep our community connection and equity within our school building. We have our principal coffees, we have a virtual awards assemblies, we have included Spirit Week, participating in a virtual environment, we've had fun days. We have come up with innovative ways to continue with the culture and the community of our school.
Hi, my name is Cecilia Salazar. I'm a paraprofessional here at 6th Avenue, and today I want to share with you how we have maintained a healthy culture throughout remote learning. This year, paraprofessionals have had the chance to join professional learning every Friday. This has given us tools and has also given us the chance to feel included and to have our voices heard. So thank you for listening to my thoughts.
All right, so I see some questions coming in the chat box, but I just wanted to kind of debrief. I just wanted to share that I'm most proud of the structure that we have in place to collect regular feedback from our team in order to look for trends and then address challenges together as a staff. And everyone is included in that. Our teachers, our paraprofessionals, our office staff, everyone is included in the innovating and the addressing of challenges and that sort of thing. I'm proud of the way that we've been able to quickly build capacity of our team to provide remote and hybrid learning, and how we continue to innovate and share ideas. And so I see there's a question in the chat. Did we find that we were able to align our resource of the week to our school goals, or were we doing more triage of what teachers needed? I think when this first started, we really just, our goal was to get them to familiarize themselves with the plethora of resources that the district had available for us. And so we really just said, to make this manageable, we're just gonna focus on one. We're gonna familiarize ourselves with it. We're gonna make sure that kids know how to use it, that parents know how to use it. We often did like a parent Friday, so parents were free to join us on Friday, and we would introduce the resource and kind of show parents how to navigate it so that they could help their students navigate it. And so really for us, it was just more about management, because there was so much and the teachers felt, you know, inundated with resources. And so it was really just about, how do we make this manageable and really learn and get everyone on board with it. What are some ideas teachers have shared in terms of what they are going to keep from the changes they have implemented in their classrooms, even once things are back to normal? That's a great question. Our teachers are so tech savvy now. They weren't all, I would say probably less of them were tech savvy than are now. And I'm just finding that, you know, they love Pear Deck. They love ClassWise. ClassWise was like one that was like wildfire with my staff. As soon as one teacher found it, you know, we shared it and everybody was like, oh, I want the full subscription. It just really made learning accessible to everyone, right? So like something as simple as like being able to annotate a text, and for a student to share their annotations, the teacher could then present that. And so it just made everything really accessible. You know, in the in-person environment, sometimes the teacher would project something, you know, on the Promethean or the TV, and not all kids could see it, right? And now like the kids have their laptops and they have access to you know, all of the materials. They can see it right in front of their face. So that's what I'm excited about. And I know that the teachers are definitely anxious to share those things as well. Okay, I'd love to know from other leaders in the room, what are they hearing from their teachers as well in terms of what they plan to keep? I'd love to hear that too.
And so feel free to share what you're doing at your site, in your district or school, in the chat, or grab the mic. We have a couple minutes before we'll transition to our last presenter.
Hi, I'm Tracy. I'm from the Ottawa Catholic School Board in Ottawa, Ontario, and I see there's a couple of my peers online as well. One of the things that we did as a board is we went feet first into something called HAPRA, which is an amazing tool, organization tool. And from kindergarten to grade, I'm a kindergarten to grade 6 school. And it just, from an organizational point of view, being able to push stuff out, being able to differentiate, everything that we need to get to the kids. I think it's a lot like Google Classroom, but I don't know Google Classroom. And it's just a tremendous organization tool. So we have been for many years a school that uses school agendas. And I've said to staff, we don't need to use school agendas anymore, because everything we need is gathered and we're able to do everything we need through HAPRA. And I was really expecting to get a lot more pushback. And everybody's like, yeah, no, you're right. Between HAPRA and being able to get stuff out through School Messenger, we're totally able to do this. So this is definitely something that will stick. We also love Pear Deck. We also love Screencastify. We also love Flipgrid. We are actually in person at the moment, and we have some of our students are in virtual, but we're not doing a hybrid model. My hat's off to anybody that's doing a hybrid model where you're doing both at the same time. Yeah. So that's definitely something from our school board that we will be keeping.
Thank you so much for sharing, Tracy. Feel free to keep populating that chat. You can also ditto a colleague if there's a tool that's popped up that you also use. Feel free to add how you're using it in your site or to add new platforms and tools as well, and to keep that conversation going. And we'll have another opportunity for you to grab the mic in just a moment. But I'd love to transition to our final presenter. Meet Craig Washington. Craig is a principal at Columbia High School in South Carolina, and he too has been doing so many things. It's a year of juggling all of the things, right, with our teams. And so I think I heard the word overwhelm come up in the last video. And so in a year of so much overwhelm, right, I think really being strategic and prioritizing needs has become more important than ever. And so with that, please welcome Craig, and we'll hear a little bit about his school.
Greetings, I'm Craig Washington, and I'm the principal of Columbia High School in Richland 1 School District. We are located in Columbia, South Carolina, which is the capital of our state. It is with great pleasure that I share with you some of my experiences during COVID-19 as a school instructional leader. Changing the narrative for students and staff during COVID-19. This is my second year as principal of Columbia High School. Columbia High would be best described as an urban high school. We have approximately 666 students and 106 staff members. 45 of those staff members are teachers. We have a poverty index of 56.1. However, 100% of our students receive free lunch. A unique fact about our school is that we have an EL population of 8.1%. We can have upward of 30 different countries represented at our school at any given time. Our special education population exceeds 20.7%. This presents another challenge for us as we're dealing with the impact of COVID-19. When I was hired as the principal of Columbia High, my job was to turn the school around. I had no idea that I would not be able to finish my first year. And on top of that, I would be starting my second year in a way that wasn't normal. South Carolina was impacted very hard by COVID-19. An early report indicated that 30,000 to 40,000 students were unaccounted for by school districts in May of 2019. By the time we ended my first year, we were not able to account for 3 students, and that was devastating for me. After doing some research, we were able to finally narrow that down to 0 students. I thank my amazing staff for their hard work during this challenging time to make sure that we're able to take care of and support our students. As we began the 2020 school year, I knew that we had to do things differently to support teaching and learning in the virtual realm. The first thing we did was utilize collaborative leadership. The second thing we did was to engage in professional development with not only our teachers, but also our administrators. This professional development was provided by CTQ. The third thing we did was follow the data. That way, we had a better understanding of where we were going and how we would get there. We integrated a collaborative leadership model with our teachers and administrators. Through that model, we were able to establish and create clear goals for our students, parents, and teachers as it related to virtual learning. As the instructional leader, I'd already developed a relationship with my staff. They felt like they could be honest with me and we could have honest and sincere dialogue about their level of readiness before we moved into the second phase of virtual learning. I was very, very happy with my teachers. They worked extremely hard to create an environment where best practices in virtual learning would be shared. My school leadership team exercised and modeled flexibility along with patience with the teachers. We wanted them to also model flexibility and patience with our students. You know, this whole virtual learning experiment was something new, not only for the teachers, but also for the students. We adopted the phrase monitor and adjust. When teachers found new solutions to solve problems we were facing, we utilized Teams to share that information, or we posted it in our PLC site. When administrators went to the classroom, we saw teachers doing something that was amazing related to virtual learning. We encouraged those teachers to share. That collaborative leadership model helped us to become a stronger team. When we began this journey, we did not have a true learning management system in place in our district. Only a few teachers were actually utilizing Microsoft Teams when virtual learning began in March of 2019. As we began to look at professional development, we felt that it was very important for us to target a few areas. Student engagement was first. We wanted to make sure that we maintained the engagement of our students. We didn't want any of our students to be lost or left behind. Additionally, knowing that we had a 20% special education population, we want to make sure that we increase our teachers' knowledge of appropriate virtual learning instructional tools and pedagogy. Leadership was still key in this area. We established teacher leaders to help support us in reaching our goals. Frustration was kept to a minimum because staff members knew that there was a few individuals on every hallway that could help provide virtual learning support, which included a newly appointed technology ambassador.
Jessica, is that where I was supposed to pause?
Right.
Okay.
So Craig also did some really innovative things around data collection and looking at data differently. And Craig is here with us live, so I'm going to turn the mic over to him for some Q&A. And yes, Craig, share, how's it going? And what will you take moving forward? Thanks for being here.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. In terms of moving forward, I think the key is to know that things are not going to be normal once this pandemic and once the situation does settle down. We've got a group of kids now that they're used to the virtual realm. So at this point in time, we have students that may want to continue in that realm. So how will we address that as public schools? The other part to consider and to keep in mind is that I think it's going to be a part of just continuing this journey of learning more and more about technology. I think the key to maintaining our teachers during this transition, especially for administrators, is about how you treat people. And that's just simple as it is. How you treat people, how you communicate with them. Administrators, we've got to definitely watch how we communicate with teachers. I know with my teachers, I want them to feel comfortable talking with me and telling me whether or not they're not where they need to be and if they need help and support. And like I said before, that's not a comfortable conversation that teachers might want to have with their administrator, but it's necessary. It's the way that we provide them support, because when our teachers are successful, the students are successful. And of course, you as an administrative leader, you're successful. But this whole thing is about working together. And that's how we're going to make the change and keep things in the perspective to successfully keep our kids in school and help them make the gains that are necessary. Like I said, we've got an eclectic, mix of kids, just a high number across the board in a lot of different areas. We can't afford to not engage those kids. Any questions?
Craig, I saw one in the chat about how you set virtual expectations with both staff and students. You want to talk a little bit about that process?
So, like I said before, we did not have a true learning management system in place. So we were using Teams. Only a few of our teachers were using Teams. So all of a sudden in March, we were out. Then we had our kids on Teams. It was not good. So we had to establish, what are the expectations for Teams? What do you do? When I said, what do you do? How do we recognize students when they have a question? How do we make sure that the students don't kick the teacher out of the class? Those things happen that first few weeks of school once we got going. How do we make sure and ensure that the students don't kick their peers out of class for asking too many questions? So we started sharing, and before we even started, we started sharing those expectations, make sure the parents were aware, making sure that the students were aware, but we got together and had dialogue. And as the teachers found out things that work in teams, I would make sure that they sent out emails to share that information because it was about sharing. You can't teach in a silo. It's really a collaborative approach that has to take place. So that's what it's about. We've got to work together if we're going to be successful and make it through not only COVID, but I hope the biggest thing that comes from this experience we've had with COVID is that we as educators, we need one another. Administrators, teachers, we got to work together. We've got to collaborate. And when things aren't working, we got to be willing to try something different. And if we see something coming down the road, not be afraid to say, let's take a risk. And when teachers are in the classroom and they make mistakes, I think the key is to applaud them for taking an effort. And then as the administrator, my goal is, and what I do with my teachers is I coach them up. And I said, hey, what went wrong? What do you think went better? What can I get you to help you be successful the next time? We're learning together. And I think that support's just going to completely turn things around for us.
Awesome. Also saw one more a little bit higher up in the chat box around, you mentioned technology ambassadors. You talk a little bit about that role or just different ways that maybe teachers stepped into roles or that they hadn't had before.
Absolutely. So we assigned a technology ambassador for our school, and the district supported that particular initiative and actually provided that particular teacher training. So that teacher, I gave an extra planning period so that she could work with our staff members. We also went through CTQ, and I got a cohort of teachers that went through training so that we could further have experts within the building. So everything didn't have to go directly to our technology ambassador. So it's about developing the capacity for our organization to be successful. I know someone mentioned something about notice that teachers are much more receptive to the coaching conversation. Absolutely. And I think it's all about the approach when you get ready to have that coaching conversation. I think you've got to allow teachers to lower that wall, break that wall down. And as an administrator, having that conversation, hey, I noticed that you had a little trouble there. What can I do to help? That's where you start off from, because you don't want to stifle creativity and taking risks. When you take risks in a classroom, learning is going to happen. So we want teachers to take risks. Risk is about learning new things, trying new things, but all at the end of the day, you're doing it because you want to stimulate that growth.
Thank you so much, Craig.
All right.
So risk, I've heard risk taking, relationships, flexibility, collaborative leadership, adaptability, monitor, adjust. I'm sure I'm missing some key verbs and adjectives. So if you want to drop your, favorite focus North Star words from this past school year into the chat box, we love to hear what ideas keep coming back in your buildings and in your settings that help your teams really focus on what's important, which that balance of prioritizing student learning as well as staff emotional needs, student emotional needs, family engagement, all of the things that schools were already doing, but now they're doing them in different ways and at a faster pace, right? And maybe in two environments if they're doing it in hybrid settings, right? So we're juggling our in-person learners and our remote learners at the same time. So would love to hear some of those words and phrases that resonated with you from this session. We have a couple minutes left for last minute questions, comments. Please populate the chat. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but we'd love to hear from the room in the chat box when this new normal, whatever that looks like, is in fact in place. What are you going to hold on to and keep from this year that is just now best practice moving forward? And maybe what are you going to let go? What are some things you learned you can let go and it actually doesn't negatively impact the school? It might actually positively impact the school to let some things go. So what are you keeping? What are you letting go? And maybe what are you still searching for a solution for? We'd love to hear your final reflections in that chat box. So we're going to give you a couple minutes of think time. Feel free to add that comment, and last word from our presenters if they want to jump on and engage again and answer any final questions.
I definitely say that you know, from this year and what we've experienced, I say that taking risk, and you know, one of the things that you know we have talked about more is that students are going to make some mistakes as they use technology. They did it when we used pencils. I had the privilege to be an elementary principal, middle school principal, now a high school principal, and I can't tell you how many times that you've dealt with a situation where a kid may have poked or stabbed somebody with a pencil. But when we resolved the issue, we sent them back to school and we gave them a pencil. As soon as a kid does something wrong on technology, we say we're going to take it away from them. They don't have technology for a few weeks. I think we need to be proactive in terms of finding out other solutions and trying to engage them so that they don't deviate. But it's taking that risk and not saying, oh my gosh, something just happened, let's take technology away from them. Technology is here to stay. I think it's how we manage it and how we deal with it and being proactive.
I think for us, some of the approaches that I want to keep is definitely including our paraprofessionals and our support staff in our staff meetings and in our professional development. That was something that wasn't possible when we were in person just due to differences in contract time. And we have found so much value in that, and just having all of our team on the same page. I definitely want to keep our structures for collaborative problem solving and the routines that we've established to share promising practices and build the capacity of our team. And finally, I want to keep and maintain the energy around innovation and risk taking. And just, you know, I've always told our teachers that we are the experts, right? And so especially in this, because there are no experts in teaching in a pandemic, right? So we are it. And so just keeping that energy and passion alive as we move through this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think for us, what's going to carry with our teachers is that they really have seen the power of having the students in the classroom. And I think some of them, you know, when you lose something, that's when you miss it the most. And this has really reminded our teachers that the students fill their cups every day. And I think a lot of our teachers, in terms of social emotional resiliency, you know, they struggled when students were only online because they really weren't getting their cups filled like they normally do. And so, you know, at the end of the day, they were just spent. And so this has allowed our teachers to really just value our students, and not to say they didn't value them before, but just value them in a different way. And, you know, and they talk about the difference it makes when you have a kid in your classroom and you can, you know, talk to them and look in their face and see their expression. It just makes all the difference in the world. And in terms of what we're going to let go, I put it in the chat, but one of the things we're really going to let go of is our rigid grading practices. We really are focusing on mastery much more than due dates and, you know, grading, you know, taking points off for being late, and those executive functioning skills that we need to be teaching, and not, you know, not killing their grade with, you know, if they can demonstrate they know the thing, then they should get credit for knowing the thing.
Excellent point, Jennifer. That's so key. And I think just understanding where our kids are coming from. I'll share this one story. We had a situation where a student was passing 3 classes, but he was not doing well in one of his AP classes. And we said that was unusual. Let's find out what's going on. Let's talk with the kid. Come to find out, the kid had been at home for 2 weeks without his mom there. She was in the hospital. So he was taking care of 3 other siblings. So he was doing everything for the 2-year-old, I think it was a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old. And so he was doing everything. And so that's why he wasn't turning in his work, and that's why he was having trouble. At the end of the day, I told the teacher, I said, this kid deserves an A in your class if he's trying to manage 3 kids at home alone, feed them, bathe them, and get them ready for school and whatever else they need. He's doing an incredible job just to barely keep up. And I told the teacher, let's work with him. Let's be flexible, work with him, help him get caught up, and let's move forward. But the flexibility and just listening to kids, I think is going to be something that we can't ever get away from. That this pandemic is what it is, but if you don't listen to kids and continue that passion of listening to them, I think we are destined not to do the great work we are intended to do.
What a powerful point to close on. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Jennifer, for being with us today. We would love your feedback on today's session. So we are going to drop a feedback survey in the chat box there, which will take you straight to SurveyMonkey. It's just a couple minutes. We are, as we mentioned, we're offering free micro webinars every month, and CTQ is also in the business of continuous improvement and collaborative leadership moving forward. And so please help us get better at the work we do, as you are all getting better at the work that you do. And I think just what a powerful thing to end on, that, you know, as school leaders and teachers, we think about how different our work looks day to day, but the work of a student looks drastically different this past year as well, right? And so just getting that glimpse into their family and daily lives, perhaps in more deep and intimate ways, you know, how might we really use that as an opportunity to make good on some of the equity promises that our system offers, right? So with that, we hope that you enjoyed today's session. Again, thank you so much for being here live. And please join us for our next offering, which will actually be in April. We are going to do kind of a breakout room style session. So if you enjoyed today, come back on Thursday, April 8th, same time, 4 p.m. Eastern. And we are going to have some breakout room options based on your roles. So school leaders, educators, maybe folks that work with family and community and other roles, social emotional support, to kind of depending on who registers and engages with us that day, we're going to offer some space for idea sharing and crowdsourcing around this idea of leading forward, because I'm sure many of you, as we spring forward, are already looking towards next school year. And what does that look like? And again, what's changing? What's staying the same? What do we know? And how might we thoughtfully plan this summer to give our students and communities the best education and opportunities possible? So please join us on Monday or on Thursday, April 8th. And thank you for being here today. And just one more virtual, or feel free to unmic and do real applause for our presenters today. Again, thank you, Craig, Vanessa, and Jennifer. This session was made possible because of you, your leadership, and your vulnerability in sharing your school practices with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.